benvolguts, servus und herzlich willkommen. Dobry večer, Jojstet, welcome and good evening. First of all, I want to apologize for the technical inconveniences, but now I'm going to start my discourse again, and I hope that now everyone can listen to me. Ens complau que ens podeu acompanyar aquest vespre en l'acte de la Festa Nacional de Catalunya que celebrem a la delegació del Govern de Catalunya a Europa Central a Vienna. We are very honored to welcome you to our DIADA event, which we celebrate on the occasion of the 11th of September, the national holiday of Catalonia, in the delegation of the Catalan government in Vienna. La DIADA is one of the national symbols of Catalonia, which ties to September 11th in 1714. In the Spanish War of Succession, Catalans fought on the side of Charles of Habsburg. It ended with the defeat of Barcelona by the Bourbon King Philip V of Spain. Back then, this meant the loss of some of the oldest democratic institutions in Europe, like the Catalan Parliament. The Catalan independent political tradition goes back to the 13th century. The Conseil de Cent, the medieval Catalan parliament, was founded only a few years before the British Parliament, and the Generalitat, the government I represent today, also dates from the 13th century. Therefore, the Diada of Catalonia is an act of remembrance for the thousands of citizens who died defending their city, and it reminds us of the importance of our democratic institutions. It also reminds us that adversities can be overcome. Resilience, hard work, creativity and innovation are driving elements in Catalan society. Today, Catalonia, with its 7.5 million citizens, almost the same size as Austria, contributes almost a quarter to the Spanish GDP and is leading in exports from Spain to the EU with a 65% export rate. Catalonia is host to more than 1,300 startups, and in digitalization it rates 5th after the Northern European countries. A place of crossroads, Catalonia has become home to more than 1 million immigrants only in the last 2 decades. Besides Spanish and Occitan, the official language in Catalonia is Catalan itself, spoken by more than 10 million people, and it is taught at up to 160 universities around the world, amongst them the University of Brno, Prague, the University of Budapest, and of Vienna. Catalonia has always looked towards Europe. It's been an active participant of the European project. By opening a delegation in Brussels in 1982, 4 years before Spain became a EU member. Catalans believe in Europe as a project of cooperation, peace and solidarity. In the Balkan Wars, some of the first convoys to help were from Catalonia. I'm from Dresden, from East Germany. I remember that without the solidarity and the peaceful determination of the Eastern European countries and Austria in 1989, the fall of the Iron Curtain could have gone very differently. Now we are facing a difficult moment, but also opportunities. The pandemic has shown that not one single country can solve the problems today on its own. Many of the challenges and adversities we are facing are global, and they need global solutions to be overcome. Catalonia and its people want to contribute to these solutions and to democratic dialogue as a solution to political conflicts. After intensive efforts trying to explain Catalonia to other Europeans for many years, we learned that the first step to mutual understanding is the necessity of empathy and information. That is why this evening, the starting point of our event begins with a short documentary called Corona Lessons, Barcelona in Lockdown. The documentary wants to give an idea of how people in Catalonia, one of the hardest stricken places in Spain and in Europe, have faced the challenges of the pandemic so far and which lessons they take with them. Afterwards, we want to offer the stage to a modest Austria-Catalan dialogue discussing the experiences and possible lessons of this crisis, with speakers from renowned institutions and organizations from Austria and Catalonia. The musical frame of the program will be provided by Catalan and Austrian artists. So welcome, enjoy, and Bona Diada to everyone.
passa ràpida de la malaltia al nostre país. I és per això que creiem que cal confinar tota Catalunya.
Acabo de comunicar al jefe del Estado la celebración mañana de un Consejo de Ministros extraordinario para decretar el estado de alarma en todo nuestro país, en toda España, durante los próximos 15 días.
Catalunya no estava preparada, però tampoc ho estava cap país del món. No la societat ni els propis sistemes sanitaris estaven preparats quan hi havia la corba ascendent de l'epidèmia, que es va decidir el confinament precisament per frenar-lo. També s'ha de dir que al mateix temps la capacitat de reinventar
Des del Govern de la Generalitat, el que s'ha fet és posar la salut i la seguretat al centre de totes les decisions. Un govern que s'ha mostrat proper a la ciutadania perquè en tenim competències en allò que està més vinculat a la pandèmia i, per tant, són els governs de proximitat els qui tenen la capacitat per prendre les millors decisions. El que sí ha quedat palès en aquesta prova d'estrès col·lectiva és que la responsabilitat de la gent ha estat exemplar. Hem vist famílies confinades durant molts dies. Això ha estat molt dur, però també demostra aquesta capacitat, aquesta maduresa que té la societat catalana.
empreses que són justament les més vulnerables ara mateix a la crisi. Llavors podem fer polítiques públiques per ajudar a la recuperació i per ajudar a aquest sector, però no podem pensar que l'Estat per si sol ho podrà fer tot, és a dir, es necessita una mobilització des de baix. Per qual jo apostaria.
Catalunya surt d'aquesta pandèmia amb sectors molt afectats. I per aquest motiu, el Govern de la Generalitat, a través del Departament d'Economia, ha impulsat aquest pla de reactivació econòmica i social per posar totes aquelles eines que garanteixin que aquesta sortida sigui el més robusta possible. Hem de treballar perquè aquells principals àmbits que han patit més, aquells col·lectius més vulnerables, se'n surtin i se'n surtin amb totes les garanties.
Ha estat molt satisfactòria.
Doncs Amics de la Gent Gran és una fundació privada, és una fundació social de voluntariat, que el que fem són visites a domicilis i a residències de persones grans per precisament lluitar contra la soledat no desitjada de la gent gran, oferint companyia, oferint amistat. I el que desenvolupem són tots aquests programes d'acompanyament i també activitats. I tota aquesta activitat va quedar suspesa per primer cop a l'entitat en 33 anys, el 14 de març. El que vam fer va ser organitzar unes plataformes de seguiment i d'atenció telefònica. Vam constituir una campanya que vam anomenar Trucades contra el silenci, perquè precisament volíem trencar el silenci de moltes llars, de moltes residències.
Festival que passaven 3 dies Anant simultàniament amb 30.000 persones per dia a un festival que dura 5 setmanes en 9 espais de la ciutat, amb aforaments que van de 200 a 800 persones, amb més de 200 actuacions. Possiblement al final tindrem més gent, més actuacions que mai, però amb aforaments molt més petits.
Diem que era el nostre deure projectar en fora que aquests tallers d'alguna manera estaven reflectint tot un moment històric. L'important, penso, en moments com aquest, és la reflexió que cal intentar viure amb sentit. En primer lloc, viure, però després viure amb sentit. I la cultura, en última instància, el que dona és el sentit de la vida.
Aquesta pandèmia, amb el confinament, ha estat un cop molt dur. Anímicament dur, perquè ens hem trobat sense l'única cosa que podem fer, que és treballar en els nostres establiments, i també ha estat molt dur econòmicament. Moltes de les coses que es van posar en marxa durant el confinament han vingut per quedar-se, sobretot la part digital. Nostres vídeos i de totes, que de seguida que es pugui, els rebrem amb els braços ben oberts.
Catalunya és un país petit, però és un país potent i, per tant, ha de triar unes apostes estratègiques, no se les pot permetre totes, però les que triï han de tenir criteri i visió de futur. La majoria de grups de treball que estan estudiant com han de ser la Catalunya post-Covid, la França post-Covid, estic segura que coincidiran amb uns elements claus que són transversals per a tots. Tothom s'organitza, que respon als estímuls que se li plantegen i que té una societat civil potent i articulada que és capaç doncs, de seguir les línies estratègiques que se li marquen en moments que ho requereixen.
Aquesta crisi ens ha posat a prova a tots i precisament per aquest motiu ens caldrà sortir-ne amb molta més fortalesa, però sobretot amb molta més confiança mútua. Amb nosaltres mateixos i per tant serà a través
This was Corona Lessons, Barcelona in Lockdown, produced by the Catalan production company Minoria, Absoluta. Now we go into debate. We would like to discuss with Austrian and Catalan experts the different experiences and challenges that we all have seen in the documentary. And we decided to kick off the debate in Barcelona with Austrian and Catalan experts there. Because of the situation, we decided to pre-produce the debate in Barcelona and already recorded it. So the next intervention, so to say, you will see on video. And also one of the things that we always want to do in our events is to promote young Catalan talent. And in this case, we're very excited about having the possibility to listen to a musical duo from the Conservatori of the Liceu of Barcelona, who will finish the debate in Barcelona. We will listen to Krystyna tenor, mezzo-soprano, and David Mallet, who will accompany her on the piano. So let's go to Krystyna in Barcelona. Welcome to the DIADA 2020 out of Barcelona. We are very happy to welcome you here in this really traditional historic art place, La Sala Parés. And first of all, I want to say hello to Joan Anton Maragall, the owner of this place, and who we are very thankful for being invited. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to you, and I am also very pleased to welcome you at this home and to welcome anyone who wants to come and visit us.
So I would like to ask a question to Dr. Andreas Schmidt. We have seen that, of course, the economy here was affected, that there is a special effort also in this video to explain, to talk about these aspects and future perspectives and changes that are necessary. How important is actually Catalonia for Austria as a business partner?
Bueno, hola desde Barcelona, herzliche Grüße nach Wien. Ich darf mich nochmal herzlich bedanken for inviting me to this online event. Catalonia is the most important region for the Austrian economy in Spain. Roughly half of the 200 Austrian subsidiaries in Spain are located in Catalonia. So that already shows us the importance of the region, one of the 17 Spanish regions. And likewise, a third of all the Austrian imports from Spain come from Catalonia. So again, we're talking about automotive. I mean, SEAT, all the SEATs that are running on the Viennese streets are mainly coming here from the factory in Catalonia. And again, we're talking about chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and plastics. Of course, the shutdown and the crisis has caused an enormous slump in the trade. For the exports between January and May 2020, they were down by 17% with Catalonia, but however, well below the slump in overall trade, in overall exports to Spain of minus 22%. So in Catalonia, due to the strong presence as we have seen in the movie, in the video, that is of course the industry that has been hardest hit by all of them. It's the major industry in Spain. We have seen 12% of GDP, not only in Catalonia, more in Catalonia, but also 13% of the workforce. So that is a very important figure. And worst affected by the shutdown and the travel restrictions is and including, unfortunately, also the Austrian flagship hotel Almanac here in Barcelona. Just keep in mind that between January and May, and January and July, I'm sorry, incoming and outgoing tourism between Austria and Spain has fallen a dramatic 70%. That is the major. That's one of the first lessons. The second is hybrid. Hybrid is the new formula. We're talking about hybrid events, hybrid trade shows, hybrid congresses, and this is very important for a city that is #1 in the world as a destination for congress tourism. But Barcelona, in this case, has won #1 place from Vienna, where we occupied that space before. But I'm happy to be here in Barcelona in this case. Like the Smart City Expo World Congress, the Sona Plus D, Barcelona New Economy Week, even La DIADA and La Merced are now being organized digitally, fully digitally, or in a hybrid format. And the third lesson, which I think the most important, is nearshoring and resilient value chains. Resilient value chains, just to explain it, it's the topic now, means that the value chains have to be resistant to situations like we experienced during COVID-19. For example, right after the end of the shutdown, we at the Austrian Trade Commission received numerous requests from Austrian fashion, garment, and textile manufacturers looking for manufacturing capacity or suppliers from Spain. Catalonia boasts a glorious past and a still very prominent presence in this sector. Well-known brands like Mango or Inditex with Zara and Massimo Dutti have their headquarters or major operations in Catalonia. And Austrian and many other European manufacturers have learned the lessons from disrupted value chains and have since been looking to nearshore their mostly Asian productions and manufacturing facilities.
Well, thank you. Very interesting input. I would like to come to a second question for Dr. Bieto. There's always, well, actually we've seen it politically, also on European level. There was quite a lot of discussion on agreeing on a package, financial package support for all the European countries, and then one of the times come up: why should we be helping other countries in the south? In this case, Spain. What would you, as an economist, and also from this perspective, strategic perspective, but also social perspective, what would you suggest, or what do you think is necessary, would be helpful from the European Union? How could, what would be efficient to the southern regions, to say it in a general way, of Europe in this concrete crisis?
Okay. I think that the European Union has a great opportunity actually to become really a leader of the recovery of all the countries of Europe. And I consider, my opinion is that they have made a tremendous effort on that. The EU learned from the previous crisis in 2008 and 2010 that some of the decisions that they had taken at that time were not maybe the right one. So actually, I was very happy when I read on the newspapers, when I learned that the European Union to allocate 750,000 million euros to all Europe for the recovery. And half of this package were loans and the other direct transfers. And to Spain, Spain is going to receive in the next years, from now to the next years, 140,000 million euros. This is a very, very good news. And it was not easy to arrive to this agreement. I remember all the discussions, all the negotiations among all the countries and among all the actors that were discussing that. But also, I think that, of course, the European Union is going to put conditions on the use of these funds. And I think should take the opportunity of having this amount of money to reinvent ourselves as countries, as economy, as companies, as the Europe in total. I will give you some examples. I think that we have some challenges actually. One of them is digitalizations. I agree with what you were saying, that actually in all the activities that we are organizing, education, congresses, events, and so, is one of the challenges. The other one is the ecological transition. So thinking on green, we are going to have funds. We can't do the same things that we were doing before. So we should be able to do things in order to more responsible society, more green society, and put these funds to these objectives. Of course, increase the production capacity of the countries. We have seen the problems that we had with a lot of products. We had to buy them in Asia, and so we didn't have the capacity to produce the things we were on our entrepreneurial spirit. We have a way of behaving very entrepreneurial because of the history of the country itself. But also, we have seen a lot of solidarity. So I think that we have to look at positive things. We are suffering a big crisis, maybe one of the worst big
both of you, because of course it's important also to put interesting positive impulses when you're in crisis, because when we have common future ideas, common future images of where we want to go, always helps, but we have to build them now, maybe new, construct them new. So the last question would be to both of you, what would be, first of all, if
So the digitalization of the economy, it's amazing. What we have done in few weeks, in few months. And I would like to finish with an expression by Joseph Schumpeter, the economist Joseph Schumpeter. She was saying that in times of crisis, there is a concept very interesting, very useful, that explains why countries, why people, why companies can look at the future. This is the creative distraction. So things are changing. We have to abandon the old, and we have to rebuild new things. And I think that we have learned to do that because we are actually doing that. So it's a positive thing.
Well, thank you very much to both of you for being here with us today, for sharing your thoughts, your impression, your expertise. It was very interesting. where do you see common global priorities that, for example, would be shared with the South of Europe, and that just some examples where you think that we can work more together, because also think that it's going to be a 10 years or many more years of fight, so to say, against the climate change.
Also, just one example, it's out of technology at least. At present, everyone in Europe and also in the world is talking of the hydrogen world at least. Hydrogen is a solution for the energy system of the future, and no country is an island. If you try to go the path of hydrogen or hydrogen technologies, then you need at least a continental cooperation. But it will become at least a global cooperation. So you have to have cross-border activities, you have to set up cross-border networks, international networks, like, for example, Mission Innovation, or the IEA has activities in the field of hydrogen, or you have a European Research Area task on hydrogen. So you have to work together, because it's not the thing of one nation only.
So thank you, Ms. Vogel, for your first intervention. We have now talked about also the need of people to participate, and this, I think, connects very well with maybe your activity from the Social Entrepreneurs Network of Austria. As far as I understand, it helps social entrepreneurs to solve social challenges with an entrepreneur approach. First of all, what does this actually mean? Can you maybe explain what means social entrepreneurship, and maybe connect it also with the concrete example of facing the challenge of this corona crisis?
Okay. So thanks. First of all, also thank you for inviting me to this interesting talk, and also for the inputs we had the opportunity to view before. And as Ms. Vogel said, there are many analogies to Austria when we look at Catalonia, in particular when you look at tourism, which is also very strong in Austria, and also to the lockdown measures that have been taken. When it comes to social entrepreneurship, and SENA, the Social Entrepreneurship Network, is also the interest group or interest representation of the Austrian social entrepreneurs. This is frequently deemed as a very young or new development, but in fact that's not the case. So social entrepreneurs have been there already a couple of decades ago. So the first social entrepreneur to bring an example is Florence Nightingale with her initiative to patient care, or Friedrich Wilhelm Raiffeisen, who has brought the Genossenschaft principle to economy, and the principle to help people to help themselves. Currently, social entrepreneurs have changed a little bit. They're very innovative. They're frequently very small and dynamic companies. Many of them are startups in the narrow sense of a startup, so also very quickly growing and scaling up. And the main difference between a social business or a social entrepreneur and a traditional business is the focus or the reason of company foundation is that the entrepreneur wants to solve a societal problem. This may be a society or social problem, and this may be an ecological problem. And so the company is founded to make a contribution to one of our major problems. We are all aware of the many problems we are facing: migration, climate change, poverty, social divide, etc. Most of us know the Sustainable Development Goals, and the social entrepreneurs pursue these goals, and they try to do this not as a non-profit initiative. This is the difference between a social entrepreneur and, for example, Caritas or other initiatives in this field, but by means of entrepreneurship, as the name indicates, so by generating income on the market, by selling products and services, and the income is then used to support or to increase the social impact. And very often it's also the generation of the income, so the business itself has also a social concept by including, for example, employees that come from a vulnerable group, such as migrants or people with disabilities and so on and so forth. And Austria is a very strong country for social entrepreneurs. Currently we have about 4,500, 800 entrepreneurs in Austria. And we from SENA are trying to support this development and to, as also the Klimafonds are trying to help government to provide framework conditions and to increase also the awareness of the political decision makers for this field.
And what would be right now in face of the corona crisis? I don't know, maybe they're already taking place. Just a few important steps that should now be taken from your point of view in social entrepreneurship, or how can they precisely contribute in certain areas, which maybe they can even do better or more precisely, as you already pointed out, than institutions, because they're touching other fields. So what is right now the Gebot der Stunde, the message, the necessity of the moment in this situation today?
So that's true. We see that social entrepreneurs are in a position to contribute a lot to soften the impacts of the crisis. So they have quickly, and that's one of the main advantages of social entrepreneurs compared to a huge social system or a huge social organization. They were able to quickly adapt to the changing conditions, to change their impact models, to the new needs of groups and people that due to Corona are left out. We have seen it in the documentary and also in the discussion. We've heard it that particularly educational programs have increased due to the social differences when it comes to homeschooling, where parents from socially not so well established backgrounds have often difficulties to support their children, or if they have not the language skills, whatever, and so forth. And there have been increased offers to get these children, to reach them and to offer them the same opportunities that all children should have. And on the other hand, many of the business models have now become digitalized, which has already taken place before, but now it was accelerated. And so this also helps to decrease barriers for certain areas, so like psychological support or coaching. If you do it on a digital level, you reach certain groups, foremost young people, that are more likely to search help on this level. And also, which is a very important point, social entrepreneurs offer and support regional activities of the regional economy, of regional agricultural suppliers. And this was a really big benefit offered by social entrepreneurs, that they have this very local economy approach and are having their impact in the local area, and therefore they were able to bring value to these producers and economic actors that were left out, so small, so SMEs or small agricultural productions who were able to get a place to offer their products, although Corona was taking place.
If you, this is a question for both, if from the situation right now or from the last month that Austria as well had very strong restriction and is facing this crisis, but as we're discussing there are also changes, changing or get accelerated maybe. what are maybe positive effects, or could you tell us something positive, positive change that you see in your field and that you think is a positive learning from this crisis? Maybe Vogel?
Maybe it was, you mentioned it at the last part of your words. It's about that people are more aware of their local surrounding, of their local environment. And I have the impression, and we have this feedback also, especially, for example, in the food sector, people are more interested, where does my food come from? Is it possible to grow my own food, for example, also in cities, vertical farming and other things, but also high-tech things like 3D printing of fish or whatever. Yeah? So you have different, but people are more interested, where does my food come from and how is it possible to have all I need. So it's because nutrition is very close to us. It's the same as clothing, for example. But if the farther you go away from the body, the easier it is to forget possible necessary changes. Let me say like that. Where we also see where really there is a large engagement is at the moment, you know, at the bank you don't get that much money, whatever. So people are interested, where can I invest my private money in, again, my region, my town, my community, for example. And this is really a success in, for example, private small-scale PV installations on the roof of single houses, or also participation plants on the roof of social housing projects, and so people are really interested, how can I generate my own energy, for example, also. And they're willing to spend money and to put money in that, or they are selling, they're buying an e-car, an electric car, because they think I can do something good for environmental, it's good for my children, and at the moment it's also, there's some subsidies on it, so it's good for me. So it's really, they try also to have this kind of, from my perspective, we often have this question, it's like a life without regret. So I should live and also obey that I have a footprint for the future. It should be not too large. So I have really the impression that people are interested in that more and more. And this is also coming an influence from Corona, because that was very important. We heard this before, global industries had problems with delivering the products and getting all the things they needed for the production. People were suddenly without any, I don't know, medicine and other things. So it was really, people were aware that, oh, it has something good if I have a regional production, if I have regional supply, if I can go out and see where does it come from.
So the regionalization is helping to resolve in certain points, or to help to promote a more sustainable future.
I think, yes, I think so, because there's more interest in this. And then, you know, there's interest, people give money in, they are acting, so something is going on.
Okay, so thank you very much. And Dr. Stockhammer, you have positive input from that crisis that you think is been caused by that crisis, and that you would like to explore more or to continue?
So first of all, I totally agree with what Mrs. Vogel has said. The crisis has brought more awareness to things that relate to a more sustainable living, and on the ecological side, and on the other hand also on the social side, because now certain social problems have come to surface that were formerly not known. We all have heard about the scandals in the food productions in Germany or in Austria at the Post distribution center, where Corona has shown working conditions that should not be standard in our Western societies and economies, where also low income or low cost workers are brought by buses, carried by buses to Austria, to Germany, to whatever in the Central Europe, the Western Europe region, and then are exploited and put on the spots closely. And we all know, of course, the sweatshops in Italy who are, some are saying this is the reason we have this quick explosion, or this explosion of corona in Italy, because of the sweatshops where Chinese workers are put for 2 or 3 weeks in a closed area where they cannot go out, and then they are exploited, and if they're no longer able to be productive, then they are brought back to China. And the same thing happens all over Europe in many places, and now people are more aware about how things are produced, as said, and how the logistic and production chains work, and they become aware that things should be more close and should be more transparent and should be more social and more fair, because in the end it also affects them. If things are not social, it affects society. Society is destabilized. Then you have problems that affect the society as a whole and everybody. And so people are becoming, or are starting to revise and question their values. And also before Corona, in particular the younger generation has already shifted from a mere money-focused and growth-focused thinking to a more value-oriented thinking, where the young people are looking for jobs that provide sense and that provide impact and that provide value to them as well. But this has been speeded up by Corona, because now we have seen how corrupt our societies and our economies, in particular our economies, are to some extent, and this has been brought to surface, and now people are more aware consumers, and this is also where each of us can make a difference by being more aware of what I buy, how has it been produced, how do I live, and also and this is also a very valuable effect of Corona. People have been speeding down a little bit and stopped, and had they were forced to think and to revise certain things, and most of all they were brought. Normally people have a quick life, they're working, they're consuming a lot, and now they had the chance to come back to the family, to the local community, and this has also brought a change to thinking.
So, well, thank you very much for your participation. I think we touched a lot of interesting issues. Hopefully we can soon develop them in a specific talk just on this in an evening, because it's obviously a very important possibility, and also it's very interesting to learn for us from Austria, and hopefully we can also contribute with ideas or experiences from Catalonia. So thank you very much, Ms. Vogel, Ms. Stockhammer, for coming here to the delegation of the government of Catalonia in Central Europe, and to share your opinions. And there. And now it's time for music again, and this time I'm very pleased to announce an Austrian singer, Alicia Edelweiss. She's an Austro-British musician based in Vienna. She started her musical career as a street musician, and I think it was in Barcelona. We will talk about this with her in person in an interview. She traveled all over Europe at the age of 19, and she just released a studio album called When I'm Enlightened, Everything Will Be Better. And the first song that we're going to hear now, before we have a short interview with her, is called Fare Thee Well, and it was recorded in the Ulrichkirche, in the Ulrich Church in Vienna, a very emblematic place and a very artistic and very interesting video. So recorded for us. Thank you very much, Alicia, and please enjoy Alicia Edelweiss. Thank you.
go 10,000 miles, if I go, if I go 10,000 miles, oh, 10,000 miles, it is so far to leave me here alone. Well, I may lie, lament and cry, and you'll not hear my moan. And you'll not hear my moan. Oh, the crowd that is so black, my love, will change its colour white if ever I shall prove false to thee. The day will turn to night. Yes, the day will turn to night. Oh, the rivers, they will never run dry, for the rocks melted the sun. I'll never prove false to the boy I love till all these things be done. Yes, till till all these things be done. If I go 10,000 miles, and you'll not hear my moan. If I go 10,000 miles, if I go 10,000 miles, if I go 10,000 miles, if I go 10,000 miles. ich blute, komm ich wieder runter. Ich leck das Baumharz von der Rinde. Das ist alles andere als eine Sünde. Ich hüpf in den verschmutzten Teich. Die Blutegel trinken mein gesundes Blut. Meine Freunde sind dabei. Aber vor lauter Dreck erkenne ich ihr Gesicht nicht. Denn Dreck ist Freiheit, Dreck ist gut. Wer nur sauber ist bei mir ungut. Durch Dreck ist Freiheit und gesund. Ich esse jeden Tag ein halbes Kilo Mehl. Ein guter Freund. Wann immer ich was brauche, hast du das Zeug. Du bist wie das Universum im Überfluss da. Du machst dich nicht traurig.
So this was Alicia Edelweiss from Vienna, and I'm very happy now to welcome our next guest, Mr. Peter Thier. Good evening, how are you doing?
Hello, buona tarda. I'm fine, thank you.
You're the head of corporate communication of Austria Airlines, which is the biggest carrier in Austria with up to 130 destinations.
That's right.
I guess Barcelona is one of the destinations.
It used to be, but because of Corona we had to postpone our restart, but we're going to be back next year.
When are you going to be back? You don't know for sure?
March, April, depending on the development.
On the
development. But we, of course, we love Barcelona. It's a great destination.
Okay.
We look forward to go back.
So we're looking forward to seeing you there. And this actually leads to my first question, which probably many people are asking themselves right now in this lockdown, and even that the lockdowns are being lifted, still there are lots of travel restrictions. How do you see the future of your sector?
Actually quite well. I mean, right now in the moment we all see the problem, and the travel restrictions are really a pain in the neck. Some weeks ago, you probably know, Austrian government decided to put a travel ban on all the tourists coming back from Spain to Austria. And this probably will cause that other governments decided the other way around. So I think we are not playing a European game at the moment. So we see sort of nationalisms in the diverse countries in Europe, and this is a big problem for the travel industry. And also for us as Austrian Airlines, also probably for Vueling and Iberia, so all the airlines European-wide are suffering from coronavirus, not only because of the pandemic development, but especially because of the difficulty of the diverse travel restrictions the governments put in place. Because the people don't know where to fly to, or where they are allowed to fly to. They want to fly, but they don't know if there's several travel restrictions. But to come back to your question, you asked how I see the future. I think we came to a level of freedom in mobility in Europe that this development will not go back. We will see a coming back of this development of this mobility as soon as we see a solution of Corona, and this can either be a medicine, or it can be that we get used to it, and then flights will come back, I think. There also, to give you a figure, 4 of 5 people have never flown in their life. So it's a privilege to us as Europeans that we used to fly 2 times, 3 times, 10 times a year, but 4 of 5 people have never seen an aeroplane from the inside. And we have seen the industry growing the last 60 years, 70 years, 5% per year. I'm definitely positive that this will come back.
And I mean, now we already discussed the future vision from the sector, from your company's point of view, so to say. Do you think that even if mobility goes back, do you think that traveling itself, of what we're experiencing today, will change our traveling tomorrow? Maybe the way we travel, maybe where we travel, maybe what we look for in our travel? Do you have, I mean, you're somebody who obviously is very connected to this concept of traveling.
Mm-hmm. That's a good question, because even inside, so among us insiders in the airline business, we discuss a lot about this. And we don't have one opinion. We have very.
So your opinion?
My personal opinion is that the expectation of change is bigger than the change will be. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to be more complicated. We will not only see the security restrictions in the airport. We will in the future see also some restriction because of the pandemic, whether it will be masks or the measurement of fever and such things, and probably the airlines will change their service, they will adapt their service, but I think in general traveling by airplane will develop in the same way.
Just sorry, I just came up with this question now when you talked about the future. When we will have the first passenger planes without pilots? Are we going to have them ever? It's this kind of fantasy that always comes up. Oh, it's going to be very soon. There's not going to be even need to be a pilot anymore because.
I'm going to be diplomatic in this question, because my pilot colleagues are watching maybe, and they won't like the answer.
So it's just free opinion. You know?
So I will give you the answer as follows. When civil aviation started 60, 70 years ago, more or less, you had 4 pilots in the cockpit. You had 2 flying pilots, you had a technician pilot, and you had a navigation pilot. And now we are flying civil aircrafts with 2 pilots. So nowadays this is standard worldwide. I think it is quite possible that we will see, so we too, especially you, because you're younger than me,
thank you.
You will see civil aviation with 1 pilot, and the other maybe on the ground with some remote flying system. This is my opinion. I'm not a pilot, but one thing can be assured, that safety and security, those are the 2 most important things in aviation, because traveling by an airline is still the most secure and safe way to travel. So this stays to be priority. So we have to come to a technological innovation to come to this point. But as far as I know, Boeing, Airbus, or the big producers of airplanes are already trying to see how this works.
And we have been talking a lot now about sustainability, about transition to renewable energy, all this. What can airlines do practically, really, in the next years to be more sustainable? Flying is more sustainable.
They're already doing a lot. To put this in a classification a little bit, because of these greater discussions, everybody thinks that airlines are causing emissions of carbon dioxide in a big way. Aviation is responsible for 2.8%, so 2.8% of the whole carbon dioxide emissions. To compare it, for example, with car traffic, what do you think, car traffic compared to airline?
In the percentage of pollution, a lot more. I know, 30, 80...
It's 18%.
30, well,
and the private
18.
Households, so we all...
The refrigeration is one of the...
Refrigerators,
heating.
What do you think, compared to airlines, 2.8? It's 19%.
Yeah.
So they're... of course, I'm an airline.
I was going to say, everybody's going to say tonight, it's typical that you're going to say that, but the numbers are the numbers.
The numbers are the numbers, and even the percentage is low. We need to be more efficient on emissions, because it's our planet, and we have to neutralize and to compensate our emissions. And I think there are 3 ways to do that. One is technological improvement in innovation. We can see that in the past 30 years, we have reduced emissions by 44%. Today, the per seat emission of gas oil is 3.5%. Sorry, 3.5 liters
You're informed.
per passengers.
Okay.
So when you get the car, you have about 6 liters per kilometer. In aviation, it's 3.5 liters. And 30 years ago, it was 6.3 liters. I think this development will develop in the same way, probably. The second is, of course, to use not only kerosene, but to use alternative ways to fly in aircraft, biosprit or other ways, power to liquid solutions. And the third solution to reduce our emissions is compensation. So to plant forests, to plant trees and things like that, because we know it's the easiest way. If you plant trees, the trees need the carbon dioxide. This is the thing we exhaust with our airlines. This is the easiest way. And these are the 3 pillars of reducing our emissions, and we are onto it. The whole industry has committed themselves to be, from this year on, carbon dioxide neutral, and to halve it, the whole emissions worldwide until 2050. So we have put clear targets, and we're onto it.
One last question that we're asking everyone in this whole discussion. You said that you don't think there's going to be like so much change in when mobilization comes back, but is there any, and right now actually it's a difficult situation because there's certain places that people don't know where they can go, so many negative things because of the corona crisis. What is a positive? Did you see any positive aspect of the crisis? Is it changing something in a positive way? Or maybe they're not. Maybe you don't see them in your sector, but maybe there's something that you think.
Definitely, there's a positive thing. We are aware now of the things, of the freedom we had. I think it's positive. And as you mentioned, digitalization. Of course, everybody thinks we're doing everything digital, but to say it clear, I would love to have this discussion with a lot of people here.
Yeah. We're trying to do it digitally.
Looking into my eyes, touching themselves and feeling each other. And that's the main reason I think that traveling will come back. Because we are human beings and we don't want to talk to each other via a video camera. It's nice, and we have, of course, advantages seen from that. But I think the whole thing will come back. And I'm very aware of the privilege that we had before Corona to travel to Barcelona without any problems, to use the same currency, to talk to the people among Europeans. And I'm very keen and very positive that this will come back soon.
Well, thank you very much for this positive final note on this conversation. So thank you very much for coming in tonight, Mr. Thier. It was an honor and privilege to have you here in our delegation. And I want to come now to our next intervention, which will be on video, and we will change a little bit the area. We've talked a lot about impacts in economy and society. We've talked with experts or stakeholders from these different areas. And we talked about lessons of the current challenges. And we want to know also if, for example, art, because art has been one of the most difficult sectors where people have had most difficult time, art and culture, in this month of lockdown. And we would like to know if something has changed in the art sector and if art also plays a role in social change, like the social change we're experiencing now, and if it's not only about us enjoying art, but maybe also art that can help us to improve society. So I would like to give it back now to Barcelona to Joan Anton Maragall, who we have interviewed on this, and afterwards we will have the honor to listen to a video message by Dr. Beate Winkler. She is a human rights activist. She was the founding director of the European Fundamental Rights Agency, and now she's an artist and she's doing what I call cultural diplomacy, and she has an interesting message for us. So please enjoy Joan Anton Maragall from the Sala Parés in Barcelona and Dr. Beate Winkler from Vienna. Is there anything concrete, positive that you have learned as a gallerist and as a defender of art as a need in this corona crisis? Can be something practical, maybe some kind of transition, how things can be done differently to make sure culture is safe. Maybe it's just something more like an inspiration that your artists have looked into a different direction. I don't know, just something that you would consider if there is something positive, maybe there's not, that this crisis has provoked in your world of art and artistic creation?
Yes, we have experienced different, very positive things. First of all, when the gallery had to be closed because of coronavirus, we had digital communication with our clients and friends, which was very intensive, very intensive. Artists became, through us, directly in contact with many people that were able to see what they were doing in their ateliers during the confinement. This was the first experience. The second experience that we are having just now is that digital communication of art is a real possibility. We were quite skeptical about the possibility of selling art or communicating art through the digital networks, because we always thought that the presence of and the direct sight of the piece of art was essential. We are learning that, of course, the direct seeing of a piece of art is the best, but that the digital contact that you can have and the digital information that you can receive about an artist or a piece of art is enormously important. And I would like to add one point. We, as a cultural sector, have advanced a lot during this corona crisis. A few days ago, the Catalan government established that culture would be considered as an essential need for Catalan citizens. This is thanks to coronavirus, because during coronavirus, many people enjoyed culture through a digital way, maybe more than before.
Now we have transformation processes nearly in all areas of life. Digitalization, globalization, migration, the big scissors between the rich and the poor, climate change, all these things are coming together. And if an organization changes in nearly all areas, necessary, and it gives you tremendous opportunities. The other point is we need creativity, and here art comes in. Art is one of the most important
the United Nations in New York in 1971 during his very long exile. For Catalans, this song is a signal, a symbol for freedom. And Pau Casasi also made a very famous speech at that moment in the United Nations. And I just want to cite what he said about the song that we're going to hear. He says, "I will play a melody of Catalan folklore, El cant dels ocells, which means the song of the birds. When they fly through the sky, the birds are singing, peace, peace, peace." Bona diada.